Greetings, everyone. I'm glad to be here, and I'm glad that you are here. Today is a continuation of our Learning Magic series, and I'm really kind of passionate about this one. I love wild and crazy things. Doing absolutely insane things in Magic, truly one of the joys of playing this game in general. Oftentimes, that does come down to win conditions, and of course that's the topic for today's discussion, is how do you actually end the game? There's lots of different ways of doing that, and I personally like to do some crazy combos and stuff as much as the next guy, but we're going to try and stick to creature-based win conditions, because when you're first learning the game, this is going to be your primary way of winning most games of Magic is through creatures. So, when you're trying to choose a win condition, you're often going to be looking for a closer, something to end the game, in a reasonable amount of time. It can be very, very tempting to reach for some gigantic 7 or 8 drop creature that's just absolutely massive and will end the game very quickly. Consider with me the math on your Magic the Gathering deck. If you have, let's just say 33% lands, for round numbers, 1/3 of your deck is lands. That would be 20 cards in a 60 card deck, which 20 lands is actually on the low side. We've actually already made a video about that. Check that out if you are curious about land drops. But just, again, for round numbers, 1 out of every 3 cards is a land. Okay, so you keep a 3-lander. Reasonable. You will have a land drop on turns 1, 2, and 3. You will have also, if you were on the draw, drawn 3 cards in that time. So you should, theoretically, statistically speaking, normally, you shuffle. It's random. You never know. But you should hit your 4th land on turn 4. But you may have just drawn it on turn 4, or possibly the turn right before it. How long do you have to wait until turn 5 to get your 5th land drop? Well, oftentimes, if you're not careful, you will have to wait several turns, right? So you could end up not hitting your 5th land drop until, I don't know, whatever, turn 6, maybe turn 7 possibly. Unless, of course, you've drawn a lot of extra cards or something like that. There's lots of mitigating factors. That's what I love about the game. But just math-wise. So then, if you have to wait until like turn 6 or 7 to play your 5-drop, what about your 6-drop? 3 more turns after that? On average? Holy cow. That's a long time. 7 mana? 3 more turns after your 6-drop? A lot of games of Magic can end on turn 5, right? If you're up against a really aggressive deck, they can kill you on turn 5. And you're not going to play your 7-drop until like turn 12? Oh boy, you're asking a lot of your deck to survive that long. Now, okay, there are other ways around it. Cards like Cultivate. Search your library for up to 2 basic lands, reveal those cards, put them onto the battlefield tapped, or 1 onto the battlefield tapped, the other into your hand. There is other cards like Migration's Path that lets you put both of them onto the battlefield, stuff like that, right? But understand, you are spending a whole card and probably a whole turn to do this thing, so you better want it. So, unless you are really dedicating yourself to finding extra lands or drawing lots of cards, you're probably going to want to stick to like 5-drops and occasionally 6-drops, right? So let's have a look at some of those, just to have an idea of what we're talking about here. One of the cards that you will regularly have access to early in your Magic the Gathering collection is Gigantosaurus. 10/10 for 5. Catch is it doesn't do anything when it first comes down. Can be worth it. Absolutely can be. But you've got to be careful. Because since it doesn't do anything immediately, if you play this and you're like, all right, go opponent, I'm going to get you. And they just go, okay, kill it? What happened to your win condition? It's not winning the game. You spent 5 mana, the opponent spent 2 or 3 mana, your thing is dead, and now you're like, I hope I draw another win condition, right? Dangerous territory. So what most often you want to do, if this is going to be your closer, is have something that gives you something immediately. So even if your opponent does remove it, you still get something. So, like Vivian's Monstrous Advocate, if it stays around, it's going to create a lot of 3/3s, and that will win you the game eventually. However, it at least gives you a 3/3. You play Vivian, you get your 3/3, they kill Vivian, at least you got something, right? In that same way, Kagla, 6 mana, 7/6, When it enters, it fights up to one creature you don't control. So, yeah, they might just kill your Kagla, but you at least get to fight something immediate, right? Now, you can also return a human and make it indestructible. So that's another way of protecting itself, which is a key portion of very powerful closers, would be cards that protect themselves. Like Dream Trawler. 6 mana 3/5? Oh my word, look at this. This is a 6 mana 7/6. A 6 mana 3/5. It must be bad. Aha, but wait, there's more. Flying Lifelink. Okay, that helps, but that's still not very good. No, you're right. But whenever Dream Trawler attacks, draw a card, and discard a card, Dream Trawler gains hexproof until you end a turn, tap it. So, the way that this would normally work is your opponent will go, okay, kill your thing. You, okay, discard a card, tap it. Now the kill spell doesn't work. So the gaining hexproof, very, very powerful. This will win a lot of games of Magic if you have the appropriate support around it, typically control. What other potential win conditions can we have here? Well, Shark Typhoon, a very classic example of what a blue finisher would like to be. It pays you off for non-creature spells. So if you are casting return target creature spells or counter spells or any of that kind of nonsense, this will give you sharks. It also allows you to cycle it and create an XX shark that can also win the game all by itself, right? So it's good in the early game, good in the late game. Very, very strong card. Then Seagate Restoration doesn't look like a win condition, but it kind of is. Like if we're talking about trying to get a blue style win condition where you are winning through some kind of chicanery, some kind of nonsense where you're pulling off a combo or something like that, drawing all your cards, or in just control, obviously, drawing a whole bunch of cards, having no maximum hand size, that is a great avenue to do it. In that same way, a bunch of these other things will be classic win conditions you can see, and most of them give you things as soon as they enter, right? And this is the sort of thing that you should be looking for with your win condition. Now, I put Baneslayer in here because, darn it, I love Baneslayer. It does not give you something when it enters, but the fact that it's so good in combat does give you some additional options. It also gives you lifelink, so it helps you in creature-based matchups some as well. And another thing, you could also look for cycling creatures. So like Yadaro, you can cycle it in the early game, but then later on if you draw it and you do have 7 mana, then you can just cast it. Can be very strong as well. So if you have any questions, by all means, please put them down in the comments below. I'm trying to keep these videos relatively quick. But what sorts of win conditions might you be interested in as a newer player that I didn't cover? What sorts of things am I supposed to be covering here? And please also let me know what other things you might have questions about for future videos. I will do my best to answer them. Either way, I'll catch you next time.